you're getting a lot of rejections, no one is sponsoring. Is that the reason that you ended up going through the H1B cap exam route?
I landed an internship during my summer break, but that did not convert because they do not hire people on OPTs. I had lost one chance in the H1B lottery. I have just two more, which is this one and the next year.
How did you actually land that job at AACR?
When I applied for AACR, I saw the applicant count on LinkedIn to be 7 or 8. So I was not competing in a crowd. I was competing with my skills here.
There is a lot of myth about H1B cap exempt in terms of pay and salary, and it's very different. Is that myth kind of accurate, that the pay is kind of really off from an H1B lottery job?
It's not. I initially started very low. So I pitched in very low. I had a very less band. I can give you a range, maybe 5K.
Hi everyone, I'm Priya from It's OKR and welcome back to our channel. And if you're new today, It's OKR is a content platform for South Asian immigrants, and we aim to educate, entertain, and empower them. We have a very special guest with us today, Preeti, and the topic for today is going to be Preeti's journey about H1B cap exempt. She currently works at AACR, and we are so happy that she's taken the time out today from her busy schedule to share her journey. Welcome, Preeti. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me here, Priya. I am doing amazing. Just got off from work and here I am doing this podcast now.
Okay, fantastic. No, I know we've been exchanging emails, and I'm so happy that we were able to make time. H1B cap exempt is such a nuanced topic, and it's so hard to find information that we really appreciate you sharing that. For anyone who's watching and doesn't know what H1B cap exempt is, H1B cap exempt is basically H1B without lottery. We have a detailed video about it. You can find it in the description box. But today we will focus on Preeti's journey. So, Preeti, again, welcome one more time. But let's start from the beginning. Talk to us about when you came to the US. What visa were you on? What made you move? Like, where are you from India? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. I am from Bangalore and I moved to United States in 2021 August. I came here on an F1 visa. And I graduated with a master's in information systems from Pace University, New York. It was an up a high-low journey, but I enjoyed my master's, and here I am now. Is
Uh,
there anything else?
no. It's all good. Don't. Your share, like, feel free to share whatever you're comfortable with. So, no, thanks for sharing. So, you've been here 2021. Good,
Yep.
you like kind of passed the COVID time and you were able to like actually go to university.
Yep.
So, tell us, like, what were your first impressions of the US and what were your hopes, expectations? Did it match up to everything that you had heard about?
I had zero hopes when I came here. I do not like to keep any expectations and then get disappointed. So I came here with zero expectations. When I landed, I did not have an on-campus job. I did not have any assistantship. But within a month, I got a full assistantship and I got a full-time, like 20 hours on-campus job and another 20 hours. So I had to
Hmm.
choose if I want an assistantship, an on-campus, or another on-campus job. And I was the only one in the entire university to get full-time assistantship at that point due to budget cuts and all. So it was a roller coaster ride, and I got everything that I had worked for a very long time in a very streamlined manner, I would say.
I know we want to get to H1B cap exempt, but what you shared is, I think, so hard for people to do. So, what do you think made you stand out, or why do you think that you were able to crack multiple jobs and convert that quickly?
The on-campus jobs were pretty like I started networking before I even landed to US. I emailed my professors, department heads that I'm interested. This is my domain. And that's how it landed to me. Somebody reached out, the department head reached out to me saying that we are interested in your resume and we would like to interview you. And that interview converted into an offer.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's all about the power of networking. And I feel
Yeah,
like you are the example of how you got it done. So, talk to us. So, 2020, when did you graduate from PACE? Did
I'm a
it?
graduated in recession, which is May 2023.
May 2023 you graduated. So you had already like landed your internships and everything. You had like a lot of
Yes.
offers. What was it like post graduation? Were you able to quickly land a job? Like talk to us what happened after graduation.
So I landed an internship during my summer break, but it was with New Jersey Transit as a product manager for their internal reporting tool. But that did not convert because they do not hire people on OPTs. So I was left stranded without any offer. At the end of my internship, I was applying, I was going on. A lot of my applications, interviews did not go proceed further because of visa. Every time I had conversation with different people, different recruiters, all they would say is currently we are not hiring or currently we're not sponsoring.
No, absolutely. So, talk to us about you going, like you graduating, and then going through the job search process before you landed a job. So, how long was that journey? What was your process like? Just so that we understand that better.
So my job search journey was a nightmare, I would say. It took me more than 10 months, 10 to 11 months to land a job. And I did not just apply during that time. I had a mixture of referrals, I had a mixture of direct applications, I had a mixture of everything, but nothing was working. Though my resume was getting picked up during the first call, they used to say, "No, we do not sponsor visas." So, and I was on a click ticking clock. So what I did was I started volunteering at nonprofits. This stood out and really helped me stop my clock and get real-time experience. I was not just volunteering, I took up projects at the same volunteering, a company that I was working for as a technical project manager. So that elevated my resume.
So, what were your volunteering? What was your volunteering experience like? Were you like getting paid? Were you open to doing unpaid just to get in? Like, what were you thinking about?
So it was an unpaid job. I took it thinking that instead of sitting idle and not doing anything, I would at least upscale myself into another domain as well.
Now,
Hence,
that's
took up that volunteering job, though it was unpaid and it was remote. So there was no expectations to go in person, be there with the team. Everybody was remote.
Yeah, no, I think you make such a fantastic point because the job search journey, and we've spoken to many people, it can get very tedious. I think by at least having somewhere where you are like learning something or networking with people or having conversations, it kind of helps. But you mentioned this really long 10 to 11 month job search journey. Talk to us about how you came across H1B cap exempt. Like, were you actively researching? Where was this information, and what happened after that?
Initially, I actually had gone through one of your YouTube video, the explanation of cap exempt H1B. That's how I was introduced to cap exempt jobs. But I was under the myth that these are for researchers or somebody who has PhDs. What would I do at a nonprofit? I'm a product manager. Will there be any product roles for nonprofits? Do nonprofits even have an IT infrastructure that I'd contribute something there? I was under that myth. But I still ignored it. Even after looking at your video, I did not look at exploring it until December 23. I would say when the year was ending, I attended many conferences, networked and all. Nothing was working. I took a pause. Entire January, I researched what are nonprofits, if there are any roles, if there are any alums in my university who have cracked nonprofit roles. And I found one girl in my university who got a job in another university.
Hmm.
So I reached out to her asking how she did it and is it cap exempt? She said, yeah, it is cap exempt. And she only applied to universities.
Got it. No, that is super helpful. So, talk to us about and it's also like so good to hear that our video actually helped because we hear this, but not like live and then I'm talking to you. But how do you overcome this initial feeling of I am not a researcher? What will I do in a nonprofit? And then figure out skills that are actually going to be transferable. So, you were in January, like researching, like talk to us like about what happened after.
Yeah. So what I found out was nonprofits are not just for researchers. Every nonprofit has a domain within themselves that they have an IT infrastructure. Researchers also need a tool where they could upload their resumes, where they could upload their bibliographies, where they can even put their items like their research publications. That publication is on a website, and that website is managed by an IT team. So that's where my thinking shifted a little bit. I was like, let's try. If I haven't even tried, how can I even just think that it is for researchers?
No, that's really good. And we try to explain that even in our video that, it's just another company and it has all those roles that you can think about. It's
Yep,
just about figuring out how to position yourself differently. So,
exactly.
H1B cap exempt, you mentioned you're getting a lot of rejections, no one is sponsoring. Is that the reason that you ended up going through the H1B route or H1B cap
Yes,
exempt route? Okay, that was the more
yes.
biggest one.
I had lost one chance in the H1B lottery. I have just two more, which is this one and the next year. So I was like, I'm not going to go through this trauma anymore.
No, absolutely. I think it just takes such a mental toll on anyone who is on a visa, on a clock, and everything. So, like at this point, you have like done your research to figure out. You spoke to that person, your senior who's done this. What happened? Like, how did you actually land that job at AACR? Like, were you applying? Were you cold calling? Were you networking? Talk to us about the process.
Both. After I researched everything, I applied to only 7 jobs
Okay.
out, and I targeted those jobs. I tailored my resume to what they were looking for. If it was a product role, I tailored it for product. If it was project, I tailored it for project. It was a mixture of both universities and non-profits. I got interviews from 5 out of all those 7.
Hmm.
Um, and I chose AACR because it was something that I was interested in. They were implementing a new technology which was using Salesforce, and Salesforce tool is something that I like, and we are innovating on it. And we are the first nonprofit who is doing this. So that intrigued me, and the conversation that I was having with my hiring managers and the team was very nice. And I felt this would be a great opportunity to kick in. So I went into AACR.
No, that's super helpful. And talk to us about how you shortlisted these 7 companies. Were there certain websites that helped you? Like, what was that research process like?
Yeah, H1B grader. H1B grader is a game changer. So, and LinkedIn's algorithm. I have LinkedIn Premium. I would encourage everybody to take LinkedIn Premium if you want refined searches to give you proper results there. So, what I did was I looked at H1B graders, filtered it by my role and last 3 years visa who have sponsored. Even if they have not sponsored, I looked at them uh, because sometimes they do not sponsor H1B, they directly sponsor green cards. I looked at all those companies, started looking at LinkedIn and if they have any roles that interests me or match my skills. So LinkedIn played a vital role there. It started looking at my daily search history and started giving me very similar results, and that's how I discovered AACR. I saw that they were like nonprofits are universities are a hidden gem. They do not have applicants at all, I would say. When I applied for AACR, I saw the applicant count on LinkedIn to be 7 or 8. So I was not competing in a crowd. I was competing with my skills here.
That is super helpful. No, so I think what I also want to get to is like the H1B grader helped you, LinkedIn helped you. Do you mind sharing what were some of the other companies or universities that you had shortlisted? I think for anyone who's
Yeah.
researching, it will be helpful.
Yep. I had shortlisted University of Michigan, um, IUPUI, AACR, and AACR's competitor is another American Association for Cancer. Um, there were another 3 which I currently do not remember, but I can gladly share that list to you at a later point, with additional details if required.
No, absolutely. And what I'll do, if you don't mind, is I'll put your LinkedIn profile also in
Sure.
the description box, so that it's just helpful for people to see the profile. So, Let's go back to the AACR, right? Like now, you shortlisted this five companies. You got calls from five companies. Like, what was the process like for AACR? Did you just like apply through portals and someone reached out? Did you reach out to person? Like, talk to us a little bit about the details there.
All I did was apply to these roles and I waited for a week. If I did not hear back, I researched on the company's website and looked at their particular domain. For example, I emailed IUPUI's department division heads and related people that I have applied for the project manager role that is open in your department and I'm interested. IUPA's the timeline was a little lengthier. They reached out after a month. Till then, I had joined AACR. For AACR, it was a little different. I applied on the portal, and the very next day, I had an HR reach out to me for the first round. Um, and after the first round, I had the manager's round and a panel interview.
So, how long was that process? Like, how long did it take for you till you applied, HR reaching out, and then finally getting the offer?
15 days, I would say 2 weeks, I was there. And the very next day, they called me with the offer.
What was the moment like? What did you kind of knew going into those interviews that you will kind of get it, or what was that feeling?
I had a very positive feeling because everything that they were implementing is something that I held experience with. And I felt like everybody I spoke to on the panel were very happy with my experience and the way we connected as well. So I was hoping that I would get, but still I did not give up that I might get. I started applying the very next minute to other opportunities as well. I was at a library when I got the offer. I was like jumping.
No, I can see that on your face, like the feeling. I think you went back to it a little bit. So, you went through this process. What is it like working at AACR? Are the expectations of what you thought the role is? Is it like very similar? Talk to us a little bit about that.
It is very challenging, actually. It's not like any other company because we do not work for profit. We are non-profits. It's very different. Um, as a product manager, we have to work cross-functionally with different departments, but at non-profits, especially, I would say there are a lot of silos and you have to de-silo them in order to get things done. And people are used to doing things in a certain way, are not ready for the change. So being able to make those efforts, trying to make those changes is very, very challenging. And we are going there. We are in a big transformation right now, hoping that we'll go live soon with this project. And it's also a lot of problems.
That would be fantastic. I wish you nothing but the best. Do you have a sense of how many people work at AACR?
We are 230 right now.
Okay. And you work in the tech division, I assume, since you are
Yes.
a product manager.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. I think there is little information about this process. So if you know, please share. So you get the role at an H1B cap exempt or you get it at AACR. What happens after that? What is the application process or like do they take care of it?
I haven't spoken about it, but they do know that I'm on a visa and I'm a ticking and my clock is ticking. They have transferred visas, H-1B visas before, but have not sponsored a new visa. Knowing I'm on a visa, they've also promoted me. So I'm hoping, very positive that they're going to sponsor mine as well. I'm going to get into the conversations very soon. But I want to complete this project or get this project live so that I could leverage something on my portfolio. Anyways, I'm not going to go through the lottery. It's a direct application process. So.
Yeah, so at any point they want to file it, they can now file it. But you went in, apply to this job with the H1B cap exempt, like because it's eligible and you don't have to worry about anything, you can just get it done at any point, correct? Okay, and then this one, I think you can choose to absolutely not answer if you don't feel comfortable. But I feel again there is a lot of myth about H1B cap exempt in terms of pay and salary, and it's very different. Do you feel based on the fact that you had also worked for or interned at a place and applied to different jobs, like is that myth kind of accurate that the pay is kind of really off from an H1B lottery job?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's not. I initially started very low. For my technical project manager role, I pitched in very low because I was not getting job. I was very underconfident that I just need a job at this point. So I pitched in very low. I had a very less band, I can give you a range, maybe 75 to 85K. But after I got promoted, they raised my salary. Now I'm in a band of 100, 110. So
Okay,
it's not
that's
low.
fantastic. And thank
Yeah.
you for sharing it so transparently. We appreciate it. And like just moving to the last part of it, what advice would you give someone who's currently in the middle of a challenging job search process, especially international students or people on H4, people with a career break? Like, what would you tell them?
The only advice that I would give is don't go in the regular path. Look for alternative ways. Everybody wants to get into tech. I know it's very competitive. There are other sectors as well who where there is no competition. Look for less crowded places, and that's how I have found my way. You will also find your way.
That's such beautiful advice. And a few more, and before we wrap this up, you of course studied here, and I'm sure a lot of your peers are either have landed jobs or are still in the job search process. So, like, what are some of the biggest fears that people experience as they move through this process, and how would you try to address those concerns for them?
There are a lot of fear actually from people who want to come to US and find a job thinking, how would I pay off my loans? Is it even worth coming to US or just stay in India because I might get competitive salaries in India as well. India is booming. It depends on what your goal is. If you want a better living lifestyle, if you want, it completely depends on what you are aiming for. If you want to stay in the crowd, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to get out, get your wings out and fly, do that as well. Most fears I see is visas. I have heard stories from internal companies. I have a lot of connections, so people tell me they have also got notices that they won't be sponsoring anyone who have joined after this date, and they are like, should I look for a new job? Stay? And like that's so complicated. You cannot even look for another job because you're not sure if they're gonna sponsor you, nor leave the current job because you don't know if they're gonna sponsor you. So what should you do? It's becoming more and more complicated. That is why even I am waiting to ask for sponsorship. I want to show my worth before asking them anything so that can leverage something there. Don't be scared about anything. Everything has its own path.
You did set expectations when you initially joined, saying that you will be requiring this is an
Yes.
H1B cap exempt position. They understand
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. And did any of like all of your batchmates who had graduated at that time, would you say most of them have landed jobs at this point, or people are still looking?
I am not really sure because most of them might have landed job. I know some who went back to India as well, some who got remote job and are working from India for a US company. So there
Everything
is a
is possible.
mixture of crowd.
No, that's fantastic. And the last question is, what is the one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you were going through your H1B cap exempt job search journey?
One, if somebody had pushed me in the H-1B cap exempt pool, I would say, when they introduced me, they should have actually encouraged me or told me that these are the resources that are out there instead of just saying that, oh, my job is a cap exempt. I would have been very keen. Um, I take that blame on me. I should have digged more instead of just hearing that her job is cap exempt. So,
So,
uh,
did you come across many people who were doing H1B cap exempt jobs?
no, only one. After me, another friend of mine who saw me getting a job at AACR cap exempt got a job at another cap exempt. She joined another university. So I know a couple of people who are a non-profit now.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for transparently sharing everything. I'm sure anyone who's going to watch it is going to learn a lot from your experiences. I'll definitely share your LinkedIn profile. And then again, thank you so much for joining. And for anyone who is listening, if things aren't going your way, remember it's okay, yaar, because they will eventually turn around. Until next time, please leave questions, any other topics, videos that you want us to create. We will try to share as many experiences as possible. Preeti, anything else you want to share before I let you go?
Don't give up on yourself. Everything will fall in line.
Okay, that's such a beautiful thought. Thanks, everyone. It's okay, R, and until next time.